Thank you for tuning in to our avian home adventures. My name is Colleen and I'm here with one of our Eurasian eagle owls. And we are actually going to try to do something a little different and do some social distancing with one of our other eagle owls that we have. So these guys are some of the largest owls in the world, native to Europe and Asia. That's how they get their name. But there are eagle owls that go down into Africa and all over both of those continents. So it's pretty cool. What's really neat to see them up close is to see a little bit of the size difference. Might be a little hard to tell because our male over here is fluffing out his feathers a little bit. But the females can be about a third of the size larger than the males. So typically you see that in the raptor world because the females are the ones hanging out at the nest. They are protecting their young, have to be big, bad, and scary to scare off anything that maybe wants to harm their babies or their eggs. The males are a little leaner, a little bit more muscular, and they have to be really quick to bring food back to the nest. So they have to be very agile to go and get all those prey items.
We thought that they might start communicating when they were close to one another, but so far they just seem to be more interested in their snacks than about each other.
We take our birds on walks as much as possible, and we'll walk them by each other when the other one's in their home, and they'll typically let out a whoo kind of sound to each other, and it seems like they don't really care when they're out of their homes.
And it could be, yes,
So.
and Colleen saying that one of them is usually in their home and the other one's not, so it could be a territorial thing when they start to hoot. And so when they're both out here kind of on neutral ground, they aren't really gonna make that noise towards one another.
So they don't live together, correct?
Correct. They do not live together. They are both ambassadors, though, for their species. So they go out to a lot of different programs, different shows, camp programs. Bee here, our female, is part of our bird show that we typically do in the summers. This, of course, is a very unique summer for us, so we'll see what we'll be able to do with her. And Bart over here, our male, he does a lot of different on-site programs with his trainer, Kate.
And these guys are perfect for social distancing because when they stretch their wings out from end to end, it's going to be close to 6 feet. They have really, really big wings. Bee weighs a little bit more than Bart because, again, as Colleen said, females are larger than males. She probably weighs
5 to 6 pounds.
5 to 6 pounds, depending on the season. So in the winter, they are going to be weigh a little bit more. We do give them extra food so that they can help keep themselves warm. So in the winter, they're going to be a little bit heavier. And then when it gets down to the spring and summer months, they're going to lose a little bit of weight because they're not eating as much. So Bart probably weighs closer to 4 to 5 pounds. And although that doesn't sound like a lot, to be able to get 4 to 5 pounds or 5 to 6 pounds off the ground, you do need to have quite large wings. So that's why they have really, really long wings. And what a bird has to do when they're sitting still with their wings, I'll turn him around, is they're actually crossed behind him. So because they have such long wings, they can't just put their wings down beside them. They actually have to fold them up behind their body. Because if they just put them down, they would clearly drag on the ground. So they fold them up behind their body. So that's probably a really cool shot of getting to see all of his different feathers. These guys, we estimate they have around 4,000-ish feathers on their body. And a lot of those feathers are going to be to keep them warm. They are Eurasian, so they can be found as far north as Siberia. And as we all know, in Siberia, it's really, really cold. So they've got all those feathers to keep them warm. They even have feathers that go all the way down to the tips of their toes. Those are going to be not only to keep them warm, but also to muffle sound while they're flying. So owls are like nighttime ninjas. They're silent flyers, and their fringed feathers help with that silent, and the feathers on their feet do that as well.
Their feathers are also really amazing on their face. So you'll notice a lot of owls have either a circular or a heart-shaped facial disc. That's what we call it. It's really just a lot of feathers. A lot of them are stiffer and they make up this kind of satellite dish like thing on their face. And what that does is it funnels in sound to your ears. So if you've ever had to cup your ears to hear somebody a little bit better, that'll give you a little bit of an idea on how that works. But obviously it does a lot more for them than just that. So that gives them the ability to really triangulate where their prey is. So their ears are also asymmetrical, meaning instead of being on the same part of their head on either side, one is actually up and forward and the other is down and back. So they can hear up above them, behind them, below them, all around them, and really listen for what they're wanting to eat. Because, think about nighttime, there's not a whole lot of light. There's the moon sometimes and stars, but they're really just going to listen for their prey rustling around in the leaf matter or just below them when they're sitting in a tree.
So their eyes are brilliant orange.
They are. So that is a great indicator that they are crepuscular, meaning that they're up during dawn and dusk time. So when we're up in the morning drinking our coffee and when we're about to go to bed, those are the optimal times for these guys to hunt. The owl that we have around here that has similar colored eyes are great horned owls. They're a really beautiful golden color, and they're our crepuscular owl that we have here. These guys are a tufted owl, much like the great horned owl, so they do have tufts of feathers on the top of their head that they can put up. They are not ears, they are just tufts of feathers, and a lot of times they use that to make themselves look big and mean and scary. So that's usually for us a sign that they might be alarmed. Sometimes it could mean that they something is scaring them. So that's how we can kind of tell how our birds might be feeling, because obviously they don't speak English and we don't speak owl. So we have to watch little feather changes like that so that we can kind of read their behavior. So right now, if Bart were to sit up tall and put those ear tufts on his head, that would let me know that something is possibly alarming him. But the fact that his ear tufts are laid down against his head, he's puffy, he's leaning forward, he's eating food, he's kind of looking around, tells me that he is comfortable, he's not bothered by anything, which is a good sign for us.
Do your arms get tired holding birds?
We actually talked about it before we started. We both had to get the owls out of their homes, and because we give our birds 100% choice in this, we give ourselves extra time just in case the bird needs a little extra time, which means that the bird sits on our arm longer. So yes, we do get a little bit of fatigue in our arms after we hold them for a while, because as you can see, we can't hold them straight against our body because this is a wild animal and it does have a very sharp beak. So I do not want him to give me a little owl kiss on my face. So we do have to hold them at a distance from our body just for safety reasons. It's also just comfortable for them to be held at a distance. We also want to make sure that we're staying very steady. We want to keep our arms steady. This is their branch, and so we want to make sure that they're comfortable. So we have to keep our arms steady. We can't do any shaking. We can't do any dropping of the arm. They like to be kind of at an elevation. So all that said, and then you add in a 5 to 6 pound owl, and yes, it can cause some fatigue in our arms. Luckily, we've been doing this a long time, so the muscles in our left arm have gotten used to this. We do use our non-dominant hand. So Colleen and I are both holding our birds on our left hand, so that we have our dominant hand, our right hand, to feed them and to put on the leash equipment that they wear. So we want to have our most dexterous hand working with all of that equipment and feeding them.
And what are they eating today?
They're getting a mixture of things today. They're getting mostly chicken, but quail as well. So we will give them a variety of things throughout the week, and we have mouse days, rat days, chicken days, and different things like that. And so we alternate what they're getting to mimic the nutrition that they would get out in the wild. So they're not going to get the same thing every day. We'll also add vitamins to their food too. So we have a vitamin called Vita Hawk, which is pretty funny. It's specifically made for birds of prey. There's also calcium. Today is a calcium day that we add that to their food just to make sure they're getting a very balanced and nutritious diet. And so we cut up our food. So Kate was mentioning feeding them. So since we use something called positive reinforcement with our birds, so we ask them for behaviors, we give them as much choice and control as we possibly can in their lives here with us. And to do that with their training, we cut up their food. So instead of giving her a whole quail or a whole chicken, we're giving her pieces, throughout our training session to reinforce different behaviors that we're looking for. You can see her head move, which is so cool. So these guys actually have twice as many vertebrae than humans do. So if you guys feel the back of your necks, we have about 7 bones or vertebrae that run in the back of our neck. These guys have 14, which is really impressive. So I'm sure so many people have heard of owls turning their head 360 degrees all the way around. I wish they could turn their head that far. It's about 270 degrees, but they're able to do that because of those bones. So it makes them a little bit flexible. Their necks are actually really long too. So you guys are only seeing a portion of what it really is the length of their neck here, but there's a lot under those feathers.
They have very sharp talons.
Yeah. Oh, they do, very sharp.
The reason that turning their head so far is so important to them is because their eyes are actually locked in place. So we can keep our head still and we can move our eyeballs all around in our eye sockets, and that helps with our peripheral vision. And owls' eyes, because they are so large, they lack the eye muscles to help their eyeballs move. So their eyes are actually fixed facing forward. So to help with their peripheral vision, that's why they're able to turn their neck so far. All right, well, I've started to lose feeling in my left hand. I'm also
I know, my hand's
running out of food.
Too.
So thank you guys so much for joining us with our Eurasian eagle owls. If you guys have questions, make sure you post them in the comments and we'll come back and answer them for you. And until tomorrow, thank you for joining us.